Hey everyone, welcome to Circuit Mont Tremblant in Quebec for round 6, 7, and 8 of the Formula Tour 1600 Championship. It feels like it's been a while since Montreal. It's been maybe like a month and a half, which is quite a while. I complained a lot in pretty much all of my videos now about how the engine has been massively underpowered. So I'm excited to be able to say that since the last race we sent the engine off to the blueprinter, to the engine builder. We've had it rebuilt. We've had it blueprinted, which is basically they take the engine apart and then they machine it down to as precisely to the original manufacturer specifications as they can, which basically erases all of the sort of minor deficiencies that they have when they mass produce engines like this. So there's really not a whole lot of actual modification that you can do, but they sort of just make sure that everything is as perfect as possible. We replaced a few of the parts of the internals, of course, with stock parts, not with any sort of fancy aftermarket things, since that would be illegal. But the engine builder said that he sort of estimated that it was making about 109 horsepower when we gave it to him, and now it makes about 112 to 114. So that's, in a car like this, that's a huge boost. And so there's plenty of other stuff that we have to work on in the car and of course with my driving, but at least now I won't be able to whine about how the engine is underpowered. So let's take a look at the championship now. I know I said in the last video that coming out of Montreal I don't think I scored any points, but looking at the championship table now, that's not entirely true. I did score 1 point in each race, so that's a little bit better than what I was expecting. And going into Mont Tremblant, I was shooting for a top 15 finish to score points. I just wanted to get on the board. It turns out that only 8 cars showed up, so that's already accomplished, and we can get a really big points haul from the next couple races. And so turning to look at the circuit now, I think it's really one of the most underrated circuits in the world. Certainly one of the most underrated circuits in North America. It's maybe 10 minutes away from a really lovely ski resort up in Quebec, and the circuit itself is absolutely awesome. Turn 1, which you'll see very soon, is a really fast, we're going 105, 110 miles an hour, down a dip, all the way up a hill, and then the car lifts up over the hill and you're still turning and you're fighting to keep it on the road. I remember back when I raced here in Skip Barber, those cars were just nearly flat if you had the courage to do it through turn 1. And I don't think I ever did. But these cars, they have a little bit more grip. I think they're a little bit lighter. They're a little bit less powerful, so it should be a little bit easier to take it flat, I think. I didn't throughout the weekend, but again, like I said, we still have a lot of ways to go, both with the car and with my driving, to work up that confidence. Of course, there's also the risk and reward. You gain a couple tenths, and but if I smash up the car, then we go home. We don't have any. We have a few spares, but if we break an upright, then our weekend is over. So I was still playing it a little bit more conservatively than I would like to. And then over after turn 1, you go down the hill into a closing radius, turn number 4, where you're braking and you're turning, and the car never really feels very settled. And then you have to stay all the way over to the right for turn 5, to a flat-out left-hand sweeper, up a little bit of a grade into turn 7, and then as you're driving away from the apex, the road falls away, which leads into turn 8, which is one of the better overtaking opportunities on the circuit. Coming around turn 8, there's a long back straightaway, leading into turn 10, which is a really fast left-hander. I'm taking it in 3rd gear, down from 4th. Then I go from 3rd gear in turn 10, down to 2nd in turn 11, up the hill, and then down into 1st into turn 12 under the bridge, which is another, that uphill really helps you on the brakes. Then there's a flat-out kink up to the hairpin on the last corner, or what I guess I would consider the last corner, since the one after that leads onto the front straightaway is sort of just a bend, and we take that easily flat out with no drama. But by far the real star of the circuit is turn 1. You go down into the ditch and then up. It's really sketchy, almost flat out. It's one of those corners that when I was racing here in Skip Barber, one of the instructors said that every time you go through it, you think to yourself, well, thank heavens I don't have to do that for another minute and 40 seconds. And so yeah, it's one of those kind of things. But we've seen the track. Let's take a look at the starting grid. The two exclusive Autosport Spectrum chassis are starting 1-2. Somehow I ended up in 4th place. Didier Schrennen and Guillaume Archambault. It's a fantastic name. They're both faster than me on time, but they must have had some kind of penalty. I don't know if they were underweight or something, but for some reason they're starting behind me. So we are in 4th. And if you've noticed on the video playing in the background, as we rolled out onto the track, one of these Spectrum cars actually went through the pit lane while we were supposed to be driving it directly straight out onto the track under the safety car. So when that happened, they actually automatically go to the back, and I'm promoted up to 3rd place. So Romain De Angelis is going to slot into 2nd, Conrad stays in 1st, and then I'm going to shift over to the right and take the 3rd spot. So that's the starting grid. We've seen the track, and let's get ready for the green flag. So I'll cut out the last bit of the pace lap, and I'll see you guys at the start. So here we are coming around the final bend, getting ready to take the green flag. I think that's actually Jacob Astron in front of me in the Spectrum. I'm not really sure which one it was that went through the pit lane, but the green flag is flown, and Jacob and Romain in the orange car there get a pretty good jump. I didn't get a great start, but going through this really treacherous turn 1, I immediately get overtaken by Didier in that blue and white car you can see, and then the other Spectrum that started last, and Guillaume Archambault in that blue CVM. I think the blue and black car in front of me is the same as that white and blue car. They're the same chassis, but different teams. I wasn't expecting to stay in front of them for very long. There's 2 that were starting behind me, or there's 3 I guess, because they were about 2 seconds a lap faster than me. But my goal right now is to just sort of make a bit of a statement and show these guys that, you know, my times aren't that far. My times are, you know, a couple seconds off, but I'm someone you have to keep an eye out for. So I want to try and hang on to them as long as I can. And another problem that I had, which turned out to be the story of the weekend, was that the brake pedal was very soft, it was very long, and the brakes felt like they were very underpowered. And we didn't realize it until the next morning, actually before race 2, that the brake pads in the front had been worn down through the actual friction material into the whatever metal it is that they're mounted on. So I was braking basically steel on steel, which would explain why the brakes felt absolutely terrible. And I think that's sort of an illustration of why you want a professional mechanic, because we were scratching our heads trying to figure out why the brakes were no good. As I still hanging on to the back of them. I do close up quite a bit under braking, at least into that hairpin, and then they pull away again on the straightaway. It's so cool how you can see the ski resort up to the left, up in the distance. But yeah, the brakes were massively underpowered, and apparently the brake pads were long gone. So fortunately we had a spare, but we actually didn't realize that we needed to change the brake pads until about a half hour before the second race. So race 2, round 7, we actually missed it. So the next video is going to be from round 8, the third race of this weekend. There's a lot of jockeying for position going up ahead. This all helps me, of course, because when they're driving through a corner side by side, they both go slower, and that helps me stay up. Of course, once I fall out of the draft, then it's game over for me. There's really no way that I can catch up to them. So I'm trying to stay in the draft as long as I can. I feel right now that I don't have much of a chance to pass them, but I'm just trying to hang on to their coattails for as long as I can. Maybe if I can stay on to them for several laps, those guys on the pit lane will start to see, hey, you know, this guy finished way back in 17th in the last race, but now he's hanging in with the front runners. So that's the sort of the statement that I was trying to make with this performance. And so far I'm doing pretty well, I think. Ooh. closing way up under braking. The weather this weekend was absolutely gorgeous. All 4 days were picture perfect. They weren't too hot. Our spot in the paddock was actually on a lake, which was really nice. We could actually go out, a few steps from where our car was parked. We could step out right next to the lake and get all the cool air coming off of it, which was really nice. Still 4 laps into the race out of 15, actually 16 rather by the AIM data lap counter. Still hanging on pretty well. Jumping on the throttle too soon, that's one of those things that having a coach would be really helpful to iron all of those things out. And I keep complaining about the engine is underpowered and how the car is not optimized, but my driving has a long way to go as well to get back to the same level I was at 10 years ago when I was racing in Pro Mazda. I still have a long way to go. But I'm definitely feeling way more comfortable in the car and out on track than I was at the beginning of this year. So, just solid, continuous improvement is what we're looking for. They're a little bit farther away now, but still just hanging on. Right here in turn 5, you have to be so patient with the throttle coming out of that corner. It's really easy to jump on it a little bit too soon and get a lot of understeer. Then you have to jump back off the throttle so that the car can turn around. But if you're just a little bit patient on it, it's so difficult because it's such a slow corner and you really want to get back on the power. So that lead pack now is starting to pull away, and I think I've pretty much lost the draft by now, and it's going to be really, really difficult to catch back up to them since I've lost the draft, and they're all about 1.5 to 2 seconds faster than me per lap. But I think the fact that we were able to stick with them for about 6 laps was really encouraging, and it shows the difference with that 5 horsepower makes that we gained by getting the engine upgraded. So it's really encouraging, and I think if the guys that we were battling with in Montreal were still here, I think we would definitely be able to stay in front of them. Probably not be able to stay in 6th place, but I think certainly we would have been in the top 15, which was my goal for this weekend if there was a full field. This corner here, turn 4, is so treacherous because it's a really fast entry, and then you're on the brakes pretty hard, but you also want to turn the car, and if you're on the brakes too hard, then the back end starts to come around. You're downshifting as well, so if you miss the downshift while the back end is already sliding out, then it'll just upset it and pitch you into a spin even quicker. So there's a lot going on in that corner, and it's really easy to mess it up. If you have a sharp eye, you might notice that the time display on my dashboard is a little bit different than it was in the last race and how it's been for in the last several videos. Before it was just showing my previous lap time, but now I've set it so that it shows my current difference compared to my best lap of the session. So if you can see right now, it's hard to see in the shadows, but I think it says plus 0.5 something. That means that my current lap will be about a half a second slower than my best lap. So I know as I'm driving around the track if I'm on a good lap or not. And I can also see as I exit a corner if I had a good run through that corner, if I'm trying different lines or different braking points or different techniques, I can see as I exit the corner whether I'm gaining time or losing time. So it's a very, very useful tool. But it can also be kind of distracting because it's not entirely accurate. So you'll be following it around the lap and you'll think you have a good split, and then you cross the finish line and it turns out it was a couple tenths off and maybe your lap was slower than your previous best, which can get really, really frustrating. So sometimes it's best to just turn all of that stuff off and just focus on driving the car. If you're in a race and you're battling with other cars, then it's easy to forget about it, especially since when you're racing with other cars around you, your lap time is not nearly as important as a lot of other things. But during qualifying, when you are trying to set a good lap, it's very easy to get distracted by that. And it can take a lot of discipline to turn it off and just say, you know what, I'm just going to focus on the moment, focus on what I'm trying to do rather than trying to get a good time. And the people that designed the system don't really make it any easier to do that, because on the main RPM and lap time page, you can only have lap time. The only way to turn it off is if you actually put a piece of tape over it. It is possible to set up a page that is blank, but then you don't get some of the other useful stuff. In qualifying, I was changing the page over to my engine diagnostics with water pressure, oil temperature, and all that stuff, because I didn't actually want to see the times I was doing. I just wanted to focus on carrying speed through the corners, hitting my marks, hitting the brake points, staying on the threshold of the brakes as much as I could, with the really way past their point brake pads, and just driving as smoothly as I could. But it would be nice if you could just sort of turn it off on the main page rather than have to go to a blank page. It's such a beautiful circuit here with all the trees and the mountains. It's really a shame that there aren't any big championships that come here. The spectator amenities aren't really that great. There are no grandstands at all. That big grass berm that you saw right in front of me as I came around the turn 8, I don't think that's even accessible by fans, even though it would be a perfect spot to sit and watch. The entry and exit are like a one-lane road. It's amazing that they can get those big trucks in there at all anyways. But I mean, if they upgraded the facilities, it would be fantastic. It's a beautiful location. It's reasonable distance from both Montreal and Ottawa. There's an awesome ski resort nearby. And it's really not that difficult to get to, especially from Montreal. Because I think there's a highway that goes from Montreal to Saint-Jovite, which is sort of the main town. I think the only real big race they've had since the 60s was when Champ Car went there in 2007. And of course, Formula One race here, like I said, like I alluded to, back in the 60s. But I think the only race since then, the only pro race they've had since then was the Champ Car race in 07. But it's a great track, it's a great location. I wish it was more popular. I also wish it was more present in video games. I think the only game that's ever put it in their track list was Grid Autosport. I think was the only one. But it would be great if a lot of other games had it. There's Didier Schrennen. He must have spun for some reason. I could have slipped past on the left. But like I said, I mean, like I mentioned before, he's 2 seconds a lap ahead of me. So trying to risk a pass right there isn't really the best. And hopefully I can stick with him, stay in his draft now, since I'm close enough. And see how long I can stay within striking distance of him. He's starting to pull away pretty quickly, so that didn't really last much more than a couple corners, but still trying to stick with him. I think he is currently... He's at the top of the championship. I'm trying to pull up my records right now. He's at this race. He's at sixth place in the championship. So he's one of the faster guys for sure. Caught a wheel off at the apex there. I wonder if he's frustrated now, so he's making a few more mistakes. He's way in tight. He's pulling away rather quickly, but not too quickly. I think with the old engine, he would have just left me in the dust. So there's about 4 laps left. Didier made things a little bit interesting there for a bit, but it looks like we're pretty much settled into what I think is, I want to say 6th place. Yes, yeah, currently in 6th place. A few laps left, so at this point, the cars behind me are way, way behind, so at this point I'm just trying to bring it home. I was feeling a lot of vibrations, especially at the end of the straightaway at high speed. I think what those were was basically just wheel weights that we lost. They were causing the wheels to be unbalanced, and that would cause some high-speed vibrations. But I was monitoring it, and it never really got any worse, so I didn't worry too much about it. And Didier spins coming out of turn 5. I don't know what happened to him, but we get past him to take 5th place. So now my first thought is to just go as fast as you can while he gathers it up and try and pull out as big of a gap as I can. I know that he's about a second and a half per lap faster than me, so it's going to have to be a really big gap to make it to the next, so that I can keep that lead for the next couple laps. But I'm doing the best I can, and I'm keeping an eye on him in my mirror to see if I can see him. And I get all the way down to the end of this straightaway, and I still can't see him, so it looks like it took him a little while to gather things back up. Things are pretty quiet for the next couple laps, so we'll skip ahead to the final lap, and then we'll watch that, and then we'll go over the race results. So here we are, crossing start finish for the final lap, going into turn 1 for the final time. We're still ahead of DDA. I still can't see him in the mirrors, but I'm keeping an eye out for him. I think at this point, going up the hill, I just start to get a glimpse of him, and I see him coming. He's still a good ways away, but if I botch up a corner or make a serious mistake, then he'll be able to get around me. I really want that 5th place. I'm coming into the final hairpin. I get a little bit of lockup. Not nearly enough to give him enough of an advantage to get in front of me. So as we come to the start-finish line for the final time, take the checkered flag, we finish in 5th place. I'm not sure how many points that scores, but it's a lot, which is great. And there's a lot of room between us and the other cars for other cars that didn't show up this weekend. But I'm pretty happy with that performance. I was really happy with the first several laps, how we were able to hang on to the coattails of the leaders. Conrad Sissik came home in first, ahead of Romain DeAngelis, Jacob Astrid in the second Spectrum, and Guillaume Archambault, me, Didier behind me, and then Jean-Guy Fournier in his 1979 Van Diemen. So yeah, overall pretty happy. Like I said before, we're having problems with the brakes, and the next morning after this race, we took a close look at the pads and we found out that they were worn through all of their friction material into the plate itself. So we discovered that about a half hour before the race, and I'm here with my dad working on the car, so neither of us are professional mechanics, and neither of us can do something like that very quickly. So it took us about, I'd say maybe 40 minutes or so. We almost made the start of the race, and looking back, we really should have just kept the car as it was, even though it's not really safe to race on them like this, which is what I was thinking. It is safe to go out, do a warm-up lap, take the start, do one really slow lap, and then come back in the pits. We would have gotten an extra 10 points in the championship if we had done that. But we didn't, so if you guys are watching this and wondering where round 7 is, the next race that I have filmed is round 8. But round 7 didn't happen for me. We didn't make the start of the race. We were busy fixing brake pads, changing brake pads. So we missed round 7, but we did make round 8, which is coming up next. And I'll see you guys then. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment if you want to see more. And I'll see you guys later. Thanks.